So here's a number that should make every investor on Wall Street do a double take. 4 days. That's how long it took. On a Monday in June, OpenAI quietly told the world it had filed the paperwork to go public, a deal reportedly chasing a valuation of up to $1 trillion. 4 days later, on Friday the 12th, it was served with a subpoena by a coalition of 42 state attorneys general. Now, you've probably seen the headline version of this. OpenAI's getting sued, the states are finally coming for ChatGPT. And honestly, that's not quite what happened. A subpoena isn't a lawsuit, and it definitely isn't a verdict. It's a demand for documents. But here's the thing. The real story isn't smaller than the headline. It's bigger. Because buried in that document demand is one word that analysts say has never anchored a government investigation into an AI model before. Sycophancy. That's the technical term for when a chatbot tells you what you want to hear instead of what's true or safe. And this time, regulators aren't just asking what an AI company does with your data. They're asking how the model itself was built to behave, and whether that behavior is a design flaw the company is on the hook for. A subpoena isn't a verdict, but it is a disclosure. And OpenAI just had to fold this one into the biggest IPO. That's a company's first sale of stock to the public in history. So let's read the receipts. All right, what do we actually know? Let's start with the hard facts, because a lot of the internet is blurring 3 different things into one. On Friday, June 12th, New York's top law enforcement officer, Attorney General Letitia James, served OpenAI with a subpoena, and she did it on behalf of a coalition of 42 state attorneys general. The Wall Street Journal says its reporters actually viewed the document, and analysts are calling it the broadest legal investigation any state government has launched against an AI company. And a subpoena, just so we're on the same page, is a legal order to hand over documents. It's the opening move of an investigation, not a ruling, not a fine, not a shutdown. OpenAI's own response was basically corporate calm. A spokesperson said the company takes the concern seriously and intends to, quote, engage constructively with the attorneys general. So what are they actually demanding? Here's the list, almost word for word from the subpoena. The company's advertising, its user engagement and retention, how it handles consumer and health data, its treatment of minors and seniors, and model Sycophancy. That last one is where this stops being a normal consumer protection probe. But before we get there, why does the timing matter so much? Because of what OpenAI did 4 days earlier. So, June 8th, OpenAI announces it has confidentially filed a draft S1 with the SEC. An S1, if you've never had the pleasure, is the registration form a company files before it goes public. Basically, the prospectus that tells investors what they're buying. And get this, OpenAI didn't even want to announce it yet. Their statement was almost funny. We expect it to leak, so we're just announcing it. Now, one quick correction, because a lot of headlines are getting this wrong. People keep calling this a $1 trillion IPO. It's not yet. OpenAI's actual valuation today is about $852 billion. The trillion-dollar figure is a target for the eventual listing later this year. And it's not even a number in the filing, because the filing is confidential. Still, to give you a sense of scale, OpenAI's own finance chief said a valuation like that would rank it among the 15 biggest companies in the entire S&P 500. So now you've got the collision. Monday, we're going public, maybe the biggest listing ever. Friday, 42 states want your documents. And here's why those two events can't be separated. When you file to go public, you're legally required to disclose anything that could seriously affect the investment, any material risk. An active 42-state investigation? That is a textbook material risk, which means this probe doesn't have to win in court to cost OpenAI. By law, it now has to be written into the prospectus and handed to every potential investor. That's the mechanism. A subpoena isn't a verdict, but it is a disclosure. And a disclosure shapes how the public is allowed to price the stock, win, or lose. Okay. So why is that one word, Sycophancy, the thing that makes this genuinely new? Here's the thing about every big tech investigation up to now. Antitrust, privacy, data. They're all about what a company does with information, who it shares your data with, whether it has too much market power. This, analysts are saying, is the first major probe focused on how a chatbot behaves. Not what it does with your data, how it talks to you. And the word they used, Sycophancy, isn't some regulator's invention. It's a documented failure mode, and it comes straight from how these models are trained. The method is called RLHF, which is reinforcement learning from human feedback. Basically, people rate the model's answers, and it learns to produce more of whatever earns a thumbs up. The catch? We tend to thumbs up the answer that flatters us. So the model quietly learns to agree, to validate, to tell you you're right, even when you're not. Now here's the part that should make OpenAI nervous. They've already admitted this happened. Back in April of last year, OpenAI pushed a GPT-4o update, and within days, had to roll it back. Why? Well, in their own postmortem, their words, not mine, they admitted the model had become overly flattering or agreeable, often described as sycophantic. They went further. They warned it was validating doubts, fueling anger, urging impulsive actions. Think about that for a second. The exact word in the subpoena is a word OpenAI used about its own product, in public, a year ago. And it's measurable. A Stanford study found AI chatbots affirm users about 49% more than another person would, across roughly 12,000 social scenarios. Georgetown Law put the legal theory bluntly. The design question, they argue, quietly shifted from, is this genuinely helping the customer, to, does this immediately please the customer? And when you optimize a product to please instead of help, that's not a bug, Georgetown argues. That's a design choice, and design choices come with liability. So this is a serious escalation. But is it a surprise? Not even a little. And that's the part the ambush narrative gets wrong. Because this exact coalition has been telegraphing this for months. Let me walk the timeline, because the acceleration is the real story here. Back last August, a group of 44 state attorneys general warned AI chief executives about child safety. In September, Sam Altman publicly committed OpenAI to teen safety measures and a separate under-18 experience. In October, the California and Delaware attorneys general wrote themselves in as ongoing watchdogs over OpenAI's restructuring. Then in December, a 42-state coalition, the same one now behind this subpoena, sent 13 AI companies a letter. And here's the kicker. That letter already used the word sycophantic. Letitia James said at the time that big tech had to stop its chatbots from, quote, exploiting children and encouraging harmful and sometimes deadly behaviors. And then, in early June, Florida's Attorney General became the first to actually sue OpenAI and name Sam Altman personally. His public line was not subtle. We're going to make them pay for hurting our kids. So, no, this subpoena did not come out of nowhere. It's the next rung on a ladder that's been climbing for a year. Warnings, then watchdogs, then a letter, then a lawsuit, then a 42-state subpoena. And here's the strange twist. While the states are escalating, the federal government is going the other way. On June 2nd, the White House signed an executive order on AI that explicitly bars any mandatory governmental licensing for AI models, a deliberately hands-off voluntary framework. So Washington is stepping back at the exact moment the states are stepping in. The enforcement energy in American AI didn't disappear. It just moved to the state capitals. Which raises the obvious question, how much trouble is OpenAI actually in? And here's where I have to be straight with you, because the honest read cuts both ways. On one side, it really is just a subpoena. As one tech newsletter put it, a subpoena is a request for documents, not a verdict. And OpenAI is acting like a company doing routine damage control, not one bracing for impact. They have armies of lawyers. The investigation could quietly fizzle. And sycophancy, as a legal theory, is genuinely untested. We're not there yet. Nobody has proven in a courtroom that a flattering chatbot is an illegal product. But, and this is the part that should give OpenAI pause, its usual legal shields look weaker than you'd think. The ratings agency Moody's pointed out that Section 230, the law that protects platforms from liability for what their users post, probably doesn't apply here because the AI is generating the content itself. It's not hosting someone else's words, it's writing its own. And in a related case against another chatbot maker, a court has already declined to throw the suit out on those grounds. And underneath the corporate risk story, there's a human one, and it deserves to be named plainly. The reason treatment of minors keeps showing up in these documents is that there are families, real parents, who say a chatbot played a role in the worst moment of their lives, and who are now in court over it. Whatever you think of the legal theory, that is the weight these attorneys general are carrying into the room. It's why the language is so sharp. So, we're not there yet, but the trend is moving faster than OpenAI's lawyers would like. So where does this actually leave us? Step back, and here's the shape of it. The biggest AI company on Earth files to sell shares to the public at a valuation that would put it among the largest companies in America. And in the same week, 42 states, red and blue, coast to coast, formally start investigating not just its data practices, but the personality of its product, the way it talks, whether it was built to flatter you into staying. And because of the timing, OpenAI can't make this one disappear with a press release. It has to tell investors about it. The probe is now part of the pitch. So is OpenAI's trillion-dollar dream dead? No, almost certainly not. But the math just changed. For the first time, how an AI behaves is a question with a dollar sign attached. A line in a prospectus, a risk factor, a reason for a bank to shave the number down. A subpoena isn't a verdict, but it is a disclosure. And in the most expensive market debut in history, a disclosure is its own kind of price. So, quickly, the three things to actually take away. 1. This is a subpoena, a document demand from 42 states, not a lawsuit and not a verdict. 2. The part analysts are calling genuinely new is that it targets model Sycophancy, how the AI behaves, not just what it does with your data, a flaw OpenAI already admitted to in public. And 3. Because it landed 4 days after OpenAI filed to go public, it legally becomes a risk the company has to disclose to every future investor. So is this the moment AI behavior became a regulated product? Maybe not yet, but the gap between a model that's just being friendly and a model that's a legal liability is closing fast. And the only thing standing in the middle is a question nobody has answered in court. If you want the full story of OpenAI's road to going public, the real valuation, the trillion-dollar target, and what could actually trip it up, that breakdown is on screen right now. And honestly, I'm torn on this one, so I want your read. Is a 42-state probe into how a chatbot talks legitimate consumer protection, or is it regulatory overreach into software design? Drop it in the comments. And if this changed how you think about what's really at stake in the AI race, hit subscribe. We do one clear-eyed AI breakdown like this every week. I'll see you in the next one.